Hi guys, welcome to this live session, which in fact happens to be our first Insta live session. So guys, let me tell you something about Zero Period Foundation. The Zero Period Foundation is a registered NGO working towards the mental well-being. During COVID, we were fortunate enough to have some time and to take up this initiative. Now, guys, let me tell you about how did we come up with this name. So, most of you might have had zero periods in your school. So zero periods were in fact aimed at being that one period which would aim at a happy start of your day for the rest of the day to follow. Basically aimed at your mental well-being and your state of mind. So that is how, with that same old school strategy, we aim to start this zero period foundation. We aim to bring about an actual zero period in your day-to-day course, so as to make a happy start of your day. So and how do we aim to do that is by making you is by involving you in some fun activities and some fun sessions. So for today's session, our mentor, our expert is Shri Ashish Gelawat, who is a renowned yoga practitioner. Let me tell you something about Ashish, guys. So Ashish has worked as an Indian diplomat and at the Embassy of India, Doha, as ambassador of Indian culture from 2018 to 2020. He has spread awareness about yoga and essentially about the Indian culture, because yoga is embedded deep into the Indian roots and the Indian culture. So, guys, some other facts about Ashish. Ashish has started his own virtual transformation studio, Yogashish, to check that, which through which he has already. It was started in September 2020, and he has already helped about 75 clients achieve transformation. He has won a lot of laurels for the nation and at international level as well. So, guys, let us try to connect Ashish. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Ashish. How are you? Ashish, are you? Yes. Are you able to hear me? I'm sorry for the
Yeah,
technical
just give me
glitches,
one
guys. This
second.
is for the first time for me and Ashish as well. Yes,
From my
Ashish.
side. Yeah. Uh,
Technical glitches because we are not very well versed with these technologies. So let me try once again to connect to Ashish. Just a minute, guys. Yes, 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 Ashish. Are you there? Are you there? I can see you blurred, but I can see you smile. So that is all we require for this session. Yes. Try speaking something, Ashish. I'm not able to hear you. No, I don't get able to hear you. Guys, please tell in comments if you're able to hear Ashish.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, 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 Ashish. Now it's perfect. Please.
Thank God. I
Yes,
was
yes, we
worried
can.
that again the network is lost. So thank you so much for such a
That's
nice
what
introduction.
we can totally understand because you have been handling the sessions on other platforms, as you told me. So, guys, first of all, let me also tell you that Ashish is also a law graduate and has been my batchmate, and therefore we are fortunate that he has, taken some time out for this session for me and for you guys. So, Ashish, we welcome you all. I have given a brief introduction about you, and I have told them that what all have you achieved in such a young age. Though it might be a young age, prima facie, but he has a active yoga practice for I think about 18 years now. He started at a very early age in yoga, right? Right.
It's been more
So,
than
Ashish,
18 actually.
more than 18. Oh, that's great. That's great. So, Ashish, basically the topic, as you know, for today would be mental well-being. Our NGO is focused towards mental well-being. Now, mental well-being in during the times of COVID, right? In COVID, we have seen a surge. Mental health issues were definitely a stigma since ages in our country, especially. But during COVID, all the problems have, risen exponentially, and we see financial stress, we see social stress, we see relationships failing. So there are a lot of stresses amongst all kinds of people. We see isolation, people who are extroverts are not going outside. So, what would be your tips, your techniques, your take on that issues, and how do we basically deal with this thing over here to calm, ourselves? So that is and we have categorized some questions for
Yes.
you to answer probably in some detail. So my first and foremost question
You're
for
going to
you, and you
grill me
can
properly
add,
today.
yes,
No, you're going to grill me properly today by asking different questions.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though we won't grill you. So my first question would be, Ashish, that how do we find balance in these unbalanced times? As simple as that, as general as that. You can
See,
categorize it.
yeah. I mean, it's a nice question, but I think the our perspective is quite different in the way we see things. Now, what exactly is balance and what exactly is imbalance? So, how you can define that you're in an unbalanced state of mind, or physically, mentally, emotionally, and similarly, how you can categorize that you're balanced. I mean, you first have to see what your general definition is for balance, and whether you are not in balance or whether you're in turmoil or whatever term you can give it. Now, I mean, what I generally tell to my clients, or rather to everyone who's suffering right now, who thinks that they're not in a correct frame of mind, or they do not just love their physical body or their emotional body, or there are different difficulties that they're facing. It's just that this is a time for reforming your body, or rather rechecking what you're doing, whether you're doing it correctly or not. Then reforming it and reshaping it into something which is quite effective for you. So these 3 R's are something which you have to focus on. Like it's not that you have to reuse what you have. It's like you have to reform and create something new which is beneficial for you, and you're using that to create your new life. Because these nearly it will be actually 2 years of quarantine, or it will be 2 years of, you can say, being in lockdown, or just staying under the sphere of COVID, because you do not know. COVID is
Never
a
ends. It really feels.
COVID is an enemy which you do not know from where it will attack you, how it will attack you, in what form it will attack you, and when it will inflict that damage on you. So it's always that constant state of fear. But the thing with fear is, if you are fearful of one thing, it will convert into different things. So, for example, if you're fearful of COVID, so you're not doing anything, you're staying at home. Even at home, you're not doing anything. So, what it will turn into? It can turn into diabetes. It can turn into arthritis. It can turn into normal flu. It can turn into, weakening of your eyesight. Or there are different forms it can take. It can lead to, having a bad nervous system, or having just a bad muscle body, mind body coordination. And there are different things it can lead to. So, don't be
No,
scared of what exactly go.
yeah, to understand like what can lead to all these things. You were talking about COVID per se or anxiety.
No, I'm saying that COVID, the fear of COVID, because
Fear
when
of
you're
COVID,
fearful of something, then it becomes
right?
difficult to just think about anything else. You are always cornered by that fear. So you stop doing
Hmm.
anything, and you don't look at what needs to be changed. Rather, you're just thinking about how you can avoid that fear, or how you can run away from that. How you can stay away from COVID is one thing, but making sure that you're countering other aspects of it as well. because COVID is
All right.
not just something which will affect you physically. It will affect you emotionally. It will affect you mentally. It will affect you financially. So there are different aspects to
Definitely.
it. You have to cover each and every aspect. You have to make sure that you are regaining a body that is helping in everything. So take this time out to learn new things, to just recheck that going to McDonald's or going to a job is not everything in your life. Taking care of
And
your
what I
health.
could would be, there was some abbreviation you coined, basically some 3R
Yeah,
abbreviation. Could you just
yeah.
repeat
I
that?
mean,
I'll just write it down.
yeah, it's that restart, reform, and reshape. So by this is that you are
All right.
restarting your life, because I mean, not everyone gets this chance to restart their life and look at your life from a different perspective. Because I think it's been more than 100 or 120 years when something similar to this happened. I think it was Spanish flu.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's been
Ha.
a long time since
Okay. Yeah.
we as humans have gotten a chance to relook at what we are doing, whether what our society has created for us, or whether what we as society has created for ourselves is correct or not. Whether earning is important, whether taking care of your physical health is important, or whether combining your physical, mental, and emotional health is important, and how you can work on it. Whether it is only about lifting weights, whether it is only about strengthening your mind, whether it's only about strengthening your emotional stability. And I mean, you can utilize this time to find out what strong points you have, what weak points you have. Rather, you can use this time to create new financial strategies. You can use this time to create new programs, learn new things, relearn, or just forget what you have learned, or just try and shut what you have learned and try to learn things from a different perspective, which will give you a new idea as to how you can reform yourself. And just don't think that you are
Right.
living in a state of unbalanced time, because in these times also you can find out different things. Like, you can be an amazing cook, but you have not been doing it due to societal pressure, due to family pressure, or due to financial pressure. Use this time, use Instagram or other social media platforms to just post out things, and maybe you'll get a huge following, and you'll be immediately you'll become a sensation. So there are different things, and there are different opportunities in your life that you can grab hold of right now. So rather than looking at this as a negative time period, look at it in a perspective that can make you a star or make or break your life. Because by
Right. So
breaking, I
basically,
mean you can go back into your
so
previous cycle, or you can
right,
create
right,
a new cycle which is helping you to push forward.
right. So basically, you have beautifully portrayed as to how does a person try to channelize that very time in a better, positive way. But if I, take a dig at that, like, there are people who are literally suffering. This particular answer would be very, very apt. But for people who have that much time, energy, and most of us have. But there are some people who have actually suffered a loss of a loved one, or you know.
Hmm.
So that is a very serious topic altogether, a different topic. But how do those people also? Do you have some kind of a tip or some mind exercises for them as well? How does a person cope up with that kind
The
of
thing is,
stress?
essentially, a lot of people have lost their loved ones. A lot of people have their loved ones right now in hospital and critical condition. And I mean, there are
Hmm.
different effects. For example, I mean, I have a few of my friends who are suffering through COVID right now, but they have only mild symptoms of COVID. So they have been practicing with me. And I mean, luckily their COVID has not gone to a stage where they need to go to a hospital or other things. But I know a lot of people, a lot of my mom's friends have lost their lives due to COVID. So it's like how you can create a image in your mind, or rather than calling it an image, a memory in your mind, which will help you to get over all these things. And you can never forget the trauma, you can never forget the suffering, but how you can learn from it, and how you can make it, or I mean, you can use it to push you in a manner which will make sure that you're helping everyone. Because rather than just thinking about that you lost someone, some loved one, and I mean, what you will do, rather just think about what they wanted to do, and try and make sure that they are able to at least fulfill their dreams in a manner which might help others. And I mean, it depends on person to person. If you're not ready to move forward, if you're not ready to take a step forward, nothing can help you. But if you are ready to take one step forward, there are thousands of things that you can do. You can start singing. You can start. There are different things. I'm just giving you a random example, but there are different things. You can just start by focusing at one single point and letting all your emotions come out. And once all your negative emotions or all your pent up frustration is out, once you have just cried out fully, then it becomes. You are at a stage where you start thinking about new directions. And unless and until you start again and start focusing on what you have to do rather than what has happened, then only you'll start beginning to transform, and then only you can take a step forward and live with the memories of your loved ones rather than just because neither your loved ones want you to stay in a stage where you are always crying and you are always suffering remembering them, because they want you to remember them in a manner that is giving you positive energy, that is giving you positive affirmations, that is just pushing you to become better than what you are. If you love someone, they will always want you to become better than what you are right now. So if you are not thinking about that and just thinking about what will happen after they're not there, then you'll never be able to push forward and you'll never be able to get over it. So I hope this makes sense, and
that really makes sense, and that is a lovely answer, because it eventually it's all in the mindset. So
Yeah.
Ashish, you are a yoga practitioner. Would yoga directly, aid in all of this thing, and especially during the COVID time? Any breathing exercises also, if you could just leave us to.
I have a long list of breathing techniques that can be done. So I'll just try to make it crisp and try to tell you just 4 to 5 techniques which can be done. And I would like you to practice with me so that you can immediately give a feedback to all the viewers and all those people who will watch it later on, just so that they can know that me being a practitioner, I can tell you the benefits. But you being a beginner into it, it becomes easier to understand from your perspective that whether it is helping you immediately or not. So now there are different breathing techniques. And we divide our lungs into 3 different parts: so lower, middle, and upper. So there are different breathing techniques which can be done for it. And in yoga, before starting with breathing techniques, we focus on cleansing. So we'll do first is Kapalabhati. Kapalabhati is a continuous exhalation technique in which you are actively exhaling and passively inhaling. The exhalation is active, your inhalation is passive, and you're just focusing on continuous exhalation. And it goes like this simply. So with every exhalation, your abdomen is going in and you're throwing air out from your nostrils. You're utilizing your abdominal muscles to push in, and through that you're throwing out, and you're passively inhaling. So inhalation being an automatic process is going on. Whether you're conscious of it or you're not conscious of it, it will still happen. If it does not happen, so you're done for. So never worry about whether you're inhaling or not. Just focus on exhalation in this, and it will help you in cleansing your lungs. It will help in cleansing your nasal passage, which in turn will make sure all the impurities are being thrown out. So this is the first step in which you can make sure that you're strengthening yourself and you're making sure that your respiratory system is being cleaned in a regular manner, which will help in fighting against COVID, which will help in strengthening your immune system.
This is something which you would want a person to do regularly, like every day, because during these times, especially.
There are some contraindications to it. That is, first is you do not have to do it immediately after eating something. You have to at least have a 2 to 2.5 hour gap if you have eaten something after that. Then second thing is, if you have high blood pressure or chronic lower back pain or any abdominal surgery, then you have to avoid this. Otherwise, you can easily do this. And also the second, in terms of benefits, it cleanses you. Second thing is, it's quite effective for all those people who have low blood pressure, who have insomnia, who have a lot of anxiety and pent up frustration, because by doing this, in a way, you are releasing your anger. Because whenever you are angry, one thing happens with you is that your breathing becomes quite fast. So inhalation is actually quite small, and you're just focusing on exhaling forcefully whenever you are angry. So that anger is being channelized to cleanse yourself, and that in turn will make sure that you are letting off your anger while cleansing your body. Your breath, your nervous system, and your cerebral activity has a direct correlation. So if you're sad and it becomes difficult for you to breathe, similarly, if you slow down your breath, you can control those emotions. If your breathing is extremely heavy and fast, so I'm going out of topic, but it is quite important to know in these times, because the thing is, your mental health is directly correlated to your emotions. If you are able to control your emotions, then you are able to control, your mental activities, and also you are able to control your breath. And vice versa, if you are able to control your breath, you are able to control your emotions and your mental health. So just focus on your breath. So whenever you feel angry, slow down your breath. Take a deep inhalation and exhale out. And consciously try and equalize your inhalation with the exhalation. So just when you inhale, count in the seconds in which you are inhaling. So for example, if I'm inhaling in 5 seconds, I'll try to exhale in 5 seconds, not less than that. So what it will do is, it will bring a sense of balance to my emotions. It will bring a sense of balance to my body, and it will make sure that my sympathetic nervous system and my parasympathetic nervous system are being balanced. So what will happen is, if your sympathetic system is extremely active, the secretion of cortisol will be higher, or your secretion of your stress hormones will be much higher than normal. And if your parasympathetic nervous system is active, then the secretion of happy hormones is generally which is more active. So by balancing SNS and PNS, your sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, what we do is, sympathetic system is required for any kind of physical activity, any kind of mental activity, or any kind of work which requires effort. Then parasympathetic is required for recovery. So it is effective for digestion, respiration, circulation, your nervous system, your mind-body connection, and all those things. So whenever you sleep or whenever you have to relax yourself, make sure you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. And whenever you have to do some physical activity or any mental activity, make sure you are doing, make sure you're working on activating your sympathetic nervous system. And how you can do it is simple technique. Just close your right nostril with your right thumb, inhale from left nostril, and exhale from left. So by breathing in and out from your left nostril has a direct correlation to activating your parasympathetic nervous system. When you breathe in from right and breathe out from right, has a direct correlation to activating your sympathetic nervous system. So if you can just do this simple technique.
Anulom, I suppose.
Sorry?
This one is called Anulom Vilom, I suppose. In Ramdev terminology.
Anulom Vilom is slightly different. This is known as Surya. This is known as Surya Anulom Vilom and Chandra Anulom Vilom. So we are just focusing on cleansing one passage, and we are just focusing on activating one section of our brain. So by and it's not that I'm saying these out of a place where there is no research. There are proper researches done on it, and not in India, in US, in Europe, and other proper medical centers where it has been found that if you inhale and exhale from your left nostril, you're working on recovery. And if you're inhaling from right and exhaling from right, you're working on doing all the strenuous activities of your life. And whenever your right nostril is overactive, you'll see that if you're under stress, irritation, anger, your right nostril will be dominant. And whenever you are relaxed and calm and composed, and no matter anyone around is shouting or anything, but if your left nostril is active, or if you are activating your left nostril, automatically your emotions will be calmed down. And that, you'll be like oil. No matter who is shouting, it will just spill away. It will just directly repel away. I don't know the exact word, it's not covered. It will just...
This and Chandra Anulom Vilom, you have told us about the Kapalabhati thing and a general, practice of slowing down your breath and slowing down in life also sometimes.
Doing Samadhi breathing or bringing your shwas or your breath to a level of equilibrium. That is inhaling in 10 seconds and exhaling in 10 seconds. Yeah, there is some question. We are feeling sleepy and lazy all the time, being at home. See, the thing is, doing Kapalabhati is quite effective for this. So you have to simply exhale out continuously. What it will do is, it will activate your body. It will just warm up your body internally, which in turn will make sure you're feeling more active and energized. Then the second technique is
the question was, how can we activate our minds when we are feeling sleepy and lazy all the time being at home? Yes, Ashish. Could you just reiterate?
So first is Kapalabhati, which I've already done. Second thing is Bhastrika, in which you have to forcefully inhale and exhale. So in Kapalabhati, we were just focusing on exhalation. In Bhastrika, we are inhaling and exhaling forcefully. So your practice will be just try and do this even for 5 to 10 rounds, and you'll immediately feel that there's a sudden burst of energy. You can feel your breathing is more deeper, your inhalation and exhalation is more active, your lungs are more active, nostrils are more open. You can feel that your observation power is enhanced by doing this, and it's quite a miracle that by just breathing at a rapid pace, you are able to do all these things. But when you practice it over a period of time for 7 to 8 days, you will just start noticing these minute changes, and your overall grasping power, your concentration enhances. So whenever you're feeling lazy and you have to do some work, simply start with Kapalabhati. Do 50, 60, 100 strokes depending on your level. Try and increase 5 strokes every day. And then second thing is Bhastrika. So breathe in and breathe out at a rapid pace. Then next is just breathe in from right and breathe out from right. Now these three things, or these three different breathing activities you can do. Now once you have done these three, you are feeling more active, to just calm down your body to make sure everything comes back to equilibrium. Breathe in from left and breathe out from left. Now, the thing is that if you correlate it to COVID, one thing is you're working on your mental aspects. Second thing is when you breathe in from left and breathe out from left, you're working on one side of your lung. Then you breathe in from right and breathe in from right, you're working on the other side of your lung. So in turn, you're working on opening all the pores in your lungs. You're working on increasing your respiratory power. You're working on strengthening your immune system. Because if you give up against COVID, that is the time, or rather any disease, if you give up, that is the time where your immune system starts giving up. Because not only it's about physical activities, not only it is about breathing activities or just your thought, it's more about how strong your willpower is. You might have seen a lot of people are in kind of situations due to cancer or any other disease, or in COVID also. I'll give you a recent example. There's a 75-year-old guy, and I've attended some camps with him, some yoga camps with him, and he is a retired Indian Railway Services officer. So, and nowadays what he does is he gives yoga sessions to everyone in Delhi. And he was admitted with COVID around 15 days back. And he immediately texted us in a group. And what he did was he just asked our opinions on what kind of breathing techniques he should do to help and fight against COVID. Because his oxygen levels, being at 75 years old, his oxygen levels were perfect. He never had any breathing issue. Although at sometimes he felt that his breathing was quite heavy, but still it was at a manageable level where doctors did not feel the need to give him oxygen. So we gave him different breathing techniques, and all these breathing techniques are the one which I've taught you till now, and there are two or three more which we'll do at the end of the session. And after 15 days, he was discharged just 1 hour back from hospital, and is fully fine, and his recovery is 100%, in a way that doctors are saying that his COVID never increased to a stage where it could be threatening. And just because he was practicing daily, even in his hospital bed where he was being treated and all those things were happening to him, his mother was on the bed beside him, and she was around, I think, 101 or 102. So she sadly passed away a week back, but still she held on for more than 1 month. So she was fighting against COVID for more than 1 month, and she was in a stable condition. But when you are at this age, sometimes it's that you give up also, that you do not want to fight back more. But being 75-year-old, he did all the breathing techniques. He did some basic stretches daily, and he's now back to his home, and he's feeling fully healthy. And he's planning after 1 week to start his classes to make sure that he's imparting this knowledge and he's imparting his practical experience to everyone. And I'll give you one more example. 2 or 3 friends of mine who are living currently in Doha, Qatar. So they were suffering from COVID, and they were the only bread earners for their family. So they had huge financial tensions. They had huge, responsibilities on them. And I just requested them that just join my session. And within 2 to 3 weeks, they were feeling fully healthy. And in Qatar, it is quite difficult to go to a hospital and get treated, because they do not have that big of a medical facility. Although it is the richest country in the world, still they do not have enough beds for everyone. So if you have mild case, or even if your COVID is not that threatening, then it becomes difficult to get admission into a hospital or to get a proper checkup. They just send someone to, just check, and if they find you're comfortable, then you're in home isolation and nothing else is done. So, and it is 6 months back. So currently, I don't know what medical process is going on there or what kind of treatment level is there. So they joined my classes, and after 2 or 3 weeks, they were feeling fully healthy and all those things. And they went for their test, and their test came negative. And since that period, they've been vaccinated and all those things, but they're not feeling the side effects of COVID. What happens is a lot of people, even when they come back from hospital, they feel those side effects for 1, 2, 3 months. And you find it difficult to breathe, you find it difficult to do a lot of strenuous activities. So by practicing and by regularly working on your breath and doing some basic stretches, you're making sure that the side effects of it, or the drawbacks, or the weakness in your body that you feel after recovering from COVID is also not there. Although there are not huge researches on it, I'm just telling you from my personal experience what I've seen. There might be there might be some contraindications as well in some cases, but that is there in everywhere. In every case.
So we have a lovely question from one of the audience. This is, coping up with studies online has become very tiring and it gets difficult to concentrate. Anything regarding it? So any take on that?
See, the thing is, first of all, it affects your eyes in a negative manner because taking so much of blue light is anyways harmful for your whole body. So one thing is Tratak. Tratak Kriya is quite effective for improving your concentration, for just cleansing your eyes and making sure, that you're letting go of you're just releasing all the negative effects of the blue light. Because if you're able to counter those negative effects, that also in itself is a huge victory in terms of getting back to a level where you do not feel any physical side effects. Now, in terms of concentration and burnout will always be there, because online study, physical study and online study, there's no comparison. Although online study is more convenient in a way that you do not have to get dressed up, and wake up and go to your colleges or school. But in a way, it is draining also because you do not get that kind of physical interaction. You do not meet your friends, and that burnout is always there. So for that, first thing is try to work on your body as much as possible. If you like yoga, try yoga. If you do not like yoga, try calisthenics, CrossFit, or anything which you can do at your own home and which does not require a lot of equipment, because working on your physical body will help you for a stronger mental body. Because just for example, balancing on one leg, what it does is it allows you to improve your concentration, it allows you to improve your balance, it allows you to strengthen your willpower, because it is painful when you stand on one leg in different postures, or even if you are doing a push-up, it is painful, but it is strengthening your willpower, it is strengthening your concentration. So in short period, if you're doing it only for 1-2 weeks, you will not feel the changes. But if you do it for a longer duration, you will start feeling that without doing anything extraordinarily, you are feeling your willpower is stronger, your concentration is better, because you have that push, you have that drive to work on one aspect of your life. If you start working on your one aspect of your life, it automatically translates into other aspects of life. And second thing is meditation. And at the end of the session, we'll try and do a short 5-minute meditation that you can try and practice, and it will make sure that you're just letting go of all your negative energies, and you're just cleansing your whole energy and your aura to just let go of all. It feels claustrophobic in a way by staying in home and not meeting your friends. So you're just letting go and dreaming all those things by doing that. And it will work definitely if you're doing it with full effort and with full concentration. And if you're doing it half-heartedly, then it will not work.
Because I actually had a question about meditation, which was like, if a person is a beginner to meditation, right? Meditation seems fascinating, but a lot of people are not able to do it. And a lot of people essentially are beginners in the process. So how do they know that, the process is right or wrong, and how to bring that very focus? So you actually kind of touched upon that part, but how do they know whether they're right or wrong? So is it necessary that it always has to be a guided meditation by an expert, or can they try it by themselves?
There are no set rules. It's just that everything has been commercialized in a manner that you feel that for everything there's a set of rules and criteria, but there's no criteria. And thousands of years ago, when yoga was compiled together, or it was written into a book known as Patanjali Yoga Sutra. there were not many specifications which we do nowadays, or there were not many things which were told, which are told, which we do right now due to westernization of it or due to commercialization of it and due to branching out of it. But what focus on that, what focus was given in that book was, or what the main point of emphasis was, that you have to focus on your breath, you have to focus on your surrounding, and you have to focus on your internal body. External body is a outlook or is a representation of your internal body, and it does not mean that how attractive you look or all those things. You might have seen that some people have a smile which is extremely attractive, and that is just because internally they are emanating that kind of energy which makes their smile attractive. So there's no plastic surgery and all those things required for it. It's that you have to cleanse your mind, you have to be kind enough, you have to empathize with everything, and you have to be generous enough to make sure that your emotions are in a balanced state of manner. And I think I just missed the question. Can you repeat the question so that I can go back to the main topic?
Yeah, I know. No, don't worry. We are not, lying there somewhere around. We are actually in the topic because everything is related to mental health. Yoga is related to mental health. Meditation is definitely related to mental health. Now, Ashish, tell me one thing. One thing was in my mind. This proning technique, which is, getting a lot of eye nowadays, which is becoming famous. The government has recommended it, I suppose, for COVID patients with mild symptoms. So is it also somehow related to yoga?
See, proning is similar to Makarasana that we do in yoga, but the thing is that it's done to release the pressure from your lungs, to make sure that your heart is not being under continuous stress, and it also helps in relaxing your whole body. So there are not many researchers which I've read about that are saying that it is directly correlated to curing or managing COVID. But if you are reducing the pressure from your lungs automatically, because COVID attack our lungs first, attack our respiratory system first. If you are just redirecting that pressure and you are making sure that the pressure from your lungs is reduced, automatically it will help you in fighting back or managing against it. I'll give you another example. It's not related to proning. Some days back, nitric oxide was something which was being said that it is quite effective in fighting against mild COVID. So, nitric oxide sprays and all those things were quite popular, and they're still quite popular in fighting against mild COVID. So, the thing is that there are techniques in yoga like Anulom Vilom, Bhramri. These techniques are quite effective in creating nitric oxide in our body. So, what happens is if nitric oxide is there in your nasal passage, it will help in immediately eliminating or fighting back against COVID. COVID virus which is entering your body. So by doing Bhramri and by doing Anulom Vilom, you are immediately making sure that mild COVID symptoms are not happening and you are fighting back against it. And similar as proning, which is helping you in managing the pressure in your lungs, and will make sure that you are just able to manage and fight back in a better manner against the COVID symptoms or against direct COVID.
Somewhere related to Makarasana. Ashish, we're getting a question from the audience that how many hours should one work maximum in a 5-day work week? I suppose this is coming from someone who does not have a rigid work schedule as to how many hours you are required to work. So it is up to him so that stress and emotion don't take power over them. Supposing we have our liberties as to a professional, I being a professional sometimes do have liberties as to what would be my work or life balance. So what according to you would be the essential that balance?
I cannot directly comment on how many hours you have to work, because that depends on person to person, and then that depends on what your financial needs are or what your company's needs are, or what professionally you need to do. But what I can directly tell you is minimum of 7 to 8 hours of sleep is essential for your body to recover, no matter whatever you are doing. If you are not sleeping for 7 to 8 hours in a day and at a continuous stretch, it is not that you have slept at 1 p.m., you woke up at 6 a.m. and then you are sleeping from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Those divisions will not work in it, because it does not give your body enough recovery time. See, why sleeping is important is, and sleeping for 7 to 8 hours is essential because it helps in reducing your cortisol levels. It helps in increasing your endorphins, your serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, all your happy hormones. Plus, it allows your digestive system to relax. It allows your heart to relax a bit because it slows down your heartbeat, because our heart is a pump which is working continuously. So if you're not giving it enough rest, it can lead to different complications. Plus, when you're working, there's constant pressure on your nervous system, there's constant pressure on your cerebral activity, plus your respiratory system and your circulatory system. And if you're working for longer hours, that means you'll eat more. So which in turn will increase the stress or pressure on your digestive system. So if your gut is not in a perfect health, it can lead to, again, many more different issues. So make sure you're sleeping at least 7 to 8 hours. And one thing you have to keep in mind is half an hour before sleeping, cut off from all the blue light. Make sure at least 2 hours before sleeping you have had your last meal or you have eaten something which you want to eat. And make sure your dinner is lighter and at a level which is easily digestible. So do not eat heavy foods before sleeping, like paneer or anything, or even if you're going to non-veg. Do not eat something heavy which is creating a lot of pressure on your digestive system. And if you're doing this, then even if you're working for 10 hours in a day, that should be copable, or that should be manageable for you, because you're giving enough recovery time to your body. And also make sure you're working on activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You're working on balancing out your SNSA and PNS, and plus you're working daily on your breath.
Right. So that was a lovely answer. And you talked about the digestive system. That brings me to a question as to whether diet has a very important role to play while for a yogi, let's say, like if a person is entering into a yoga practice. So, and for us also, I mean, normal people who want to.
Our elders say, जैसा खाओगे वैसा ही दिखेगा. I mean, I don't remember the exact line, but it's just that what you eat is what you become.
Or what you eat, basically, yes. That's what
so
they say.
If you're eating something which is causing harm to your body, automatically that harm will translate into different manners. It can lead to, reducing your concentration. It can lead to reducing your grasping power or mental activity, to obesity, to diabetes, to having IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, then PCOS, PCOD. There are different things which can happen if you are not eating healthy. And it's not in relation to yoga only. It is in relation to any activity. For example, I can give an example of Virat Kohli. When he used to eat unhealthy, he was not that consistent of a player. And I think when he started eating healthy, he's become such a consistent and world #1 player. If you go for Novak Djokovic or other players, even Federer and everyone. So if you're not taking care of your proper diet, or if you don't go by these sports stars because they are paid for what they're doing, you can take in general life. You can look at your grandparents, and you can go to villages and see your other relatives who are quite old. And for example, my grandfather passed away last year, and he was 103 years old. And even at 103, he used to go for walking every day for 2 hours in morning, 2 hours in evening. He used to have his last meal by 7 p.m. And he used to make sure that he's eating seasonal foods. He's eating according to the season. So when summers are there, he used to eat food which provide, जिनका तासीर ठंडा होता है. Now, I don't know how to say this properly. जिनका तासीर ठंडा होता है, he used to eat those foods in summers. Then he used to eat food which have a general tendency of being slightly on the hotter side during winters. So he used to eat a lot of methi or palak and all those things during winters, and in summers he used to go for lady fingers and other things which are quite effective in summer. So it's just that balancing your diet according to season, eating the produce which is available in that season, and making sure your dinner is lighter than what you're normally eating, so that your digestive system is getting enough rest. And if your digestive system is getting enough rest, it will make sure that your other systems of your body are functioning at an optimum level, because your digestive system is your energy center. So if energy creation is not happening at an optimum level, there's any blockage, if your kidneys, liver, pancreas, if your abdominal hormones are not functioning at an optimum level, it can lead to several other issues. And you might not find it for the first 40 years of life, but after you cross 40, 45, 50, then actually you'll see the side effects of it. And it can lead to sudden diseases which you never thought will happen to you.
So Ashish, that was a lovely answer. We have another interesting question coming from the audience, which is, can gymming be an alternate to yoga? Which is in fact, I think, a common youth question.
See,
Some people believe in the importance of want to go to gym. Yes.
See, the thing is, gymming can be and cannot be an alternative of yoga, because yoga is something which works on all the different aspects of your body. So gym does not works on your mental capabilities. They do not help in improving your mental capabilities. They do not work on your emotional capabilities. And gym has a certain prerequisites which are required. You need weights. You need a proper diet. You need you need to go there, and you have to have certain set prerequisites for doing gymming. But with yoga, or if you go by calisthenics also, calisthenics is also taken out from yoga, because we do a lot of hand balancing. We stand on our hands and we do a lot of similar movements to push-ups. So it's just that modernization changes things into different manners, and when you have to sell something, you give different names to everything, and it sells at a faster rate. So the thing is that gymming works on a physical body, and once you stop gymming, then immediately your body will go back to what it was earlier, because it will not increase the elasticity of your muscles, it will not increase the flexibility of your whole body. So if you have tight hamstrings or if you have tight quads or glutes, then they will not improve upon the flexibility of it unless and until you are properly aware of how to do it. If you are aware of how to, which majorly 99% of the people are not aware of, how to improve the range of motion for your glutes, for your quads, for your spine. And a lot of injuries can happen. I'll give you example of a lot of top YouTubers were into gymming, and I'll give you example of Beer Biceps. He was fully into gymming and lifting weights, and as soon as he got injured while gymming, he changed his perspective, and now he's fully into yoga. I can give you example of Flying Beast. I think he recently, I don't know, I just saw his video in which he was injured while gymming. So there are a lot of things. And in yoga, actually, yoga prevents injuries. Yoga helps in managing pains. It can help you in balancing your thyroid, balancing your abdominal glands, balancing your IBS or any other thing, while working on your strength, while working on your stability. So, I can easily do 50 to 60 push-ups, even though I might not look like bulky or anything, but that is because yoga gives you a body which is usable in every condition. It does not make you stiff. It does not make you overly flexible. You can be overly flexible if you practice for a longer time, but it's just that if you are doing a general practice, it will, even if you leave yoga, for example, you have left your practice for 4 to 5 months, your body will still stay with you. Your flexibility will stay with you. Your elasticity of your muscles, or your balanced hormones, your balanced, respiratory system will stay with you, and you will still reap the benefits of it. So I think I've given enough of a differentiation, but still I'm not against gymming. If you want to do gymming, you find it more interesting, it's more about what your interest is in and what, attracts you more.
That is what you would want to say.
Yeah.
Ashish, we are getting a question from Bharti. She says that my question is the science behind breathing while performing yoga asanas. So science breathing, I suppose you have answered about Kapalbhati, about that Surya and Anulom Vilom. So
see, I think that is our life force. I'll just briefly touch upon it, and I'll not go into full detail because it will be another 1 hour session. So just the thing is, what is your life force? No matter whether science can explain it, whether science cannot explain it, there are things which are in yoga and which have helped quite a lot of people. For example, why oxygen is required? Why only oxygen is the gas which is required for us to breathe in and to live? Why not nitrogen, which is in abundance, and all those things? Then second thing is how a simple breathing technique can help you in managing your emotions, and how a simple emotion of, just feeling irritated can affect your breath. So if your emotion can affect your breath, and if your breath can affect your emotion, then that means everything is correlated. Now, if your emotion is affected, your breath is affected, automatically your cerebral activity will be affected. And if your cerebral activity will be affected, automatically you'll go into a negative frame of mind, which in turn will make sure everything that is happening in a negative manner, because negative attracts negative. And so if you're working on your breath, if you're working on breathing slowly, you're controlling those vrittis. In yoga, we call them vrittis, chitta vrittis, which are, the distractions, or which are the hindrances to going or reaching a equilibrium, which will allow you to perform everything at an optimum level. So if you are letting go of all these chitta vrittis, then automatically your body is transforming or transitioning in a manner, your breath is transitioning in a manner which will allow you to function to work everything at an optimum level. So, and if you want to know more about it, you can DM me. You can join any one of my sessions, because in this it will take a lot of time to just go into proper scientific terms and all.
Because we need to wind it up within 60 minutes so that it is an IGTV video. So
Yeah.
Ashish, would you just lead us to that meditative, conclusion, if you, and something, any advice or any quote which you would actually want to leave with us, or any takeaways, any summary from the session or from your end?
Main thing is, do not give up. Make sure you are rechecking everything you are doing in life, whether it has worked for you or whether it has not worked for you, and try to learn new things. Do not just let this time pass away. Whether you have the financial means, whether you do not have the financial means, everything is available for free in YouTube. If you have the financial means, then try to learn something new. If you cannot, then just try and work on your body. Your body is your temple. If you're not working on your body, there's no point in, worshipping any god or worshipping anyone, because if the body has been given to us through any means, and if you're not working on it, if you're not just taking care of it, there's no point in doing anything else. So make sure you're working on your body, you're working on your emotions, you're keeping your emotions in check, and you're just start writing, start writing positive affirmations every day. Start writing what you are thankful for, start writing what you have to do, start writing how you have to achieve the goal, and automatically you'll start working towards it. Because if you know what you have to do, what you want to do, how you will do it, your body and everything will work accordingly. Your mental activity, your thought process will change. And it might not happen in 10 days, it might not happen in 10 months, but if you're consistent, then it will definitely happen. And make sure, if you're starting with breathing techniques, do not give up after 1 week. At least give yourself 2 or 3 months of a time period to see the changes. And once you start seeing the changes, it's like taking a drug which is not there. So breathing is a drug which is there, but it's still not there, and which is not illegal. So you have to just breathe in and breathe out slowly and gently, and it will lead to amazing results. And you'll just feel a change in the way you talk, a change in the way you behave, and a change in everything, how you perceive everything, or how you react to each and everything. And we'll just do a basic 2 to 3 minute meditation. And this is for everyone, whether you can meditate to certain set of rules or not, whether you like, Sudarshan Kriya or anything, whatever you like, do it. But if you don't have enough time, just try to follow this. So just keep your back straight, eyes closed, and just let your breath flow in and out slowly and gently, without forcing your breath in and out. Just let it flow naturally, and just try to observe it. And as you are breathing, let each and every thought, let each and every emotion come out. Do not judge it by positive, negative. Do not judge it by anger, irritation, or just any kind of emotional level. Just let it come out. Make sure there's no hindrance, there's no blockages, and let each and every thought flow out. And breathe in slowly, and breathe out slowly. With each passing breath, shift your attention to your activity that is happening, to the movements in your body that are happening with each breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in slowly, inhale slowly, and observe how your body is reacting to that inhalation. What is happening inside your body with that inhalation, and similarly, exhale out slowly and observe the movements of your lungs, your spine, your nostrils, your throat, expansion and contraction of your diaphragm, the expansion and contraction of your abdominal region. and just slowly and gently start dividing your thoughts into positive and negative. Just with every inhalation, try and strengthen your resolve, try and strengthen your willpower. And with every exhalation, throw out all the negative thoughts, all the negative emotions, all the negative energy, anger, irritation, anxiety, and everything which is just blocking your path towards moving forward or towards reforming yourself. Just let it go out with every exhalation. Use your breath as a passage to throw out all the waste, and use your inhalation as a manner to strengthen your resolve, to strengthen your willpower, and to just push in your positive energy and just let go of all your energy blockages. So just breathe in and breathe out. And with each passing breath, try to deepen your inhalation and exhalation. Inhale as deep as possible, filling in yourself with positive energy, positive vibrations, and positive affirmations. And exhale fully, emptying out your lungs, squeezing your stomach in, and letting go of all the negative energy, all the negative habits, all energy blockages, all your tensions, worries, anxiety, anger, irritation. Just let it all go, throw it out. And observe after every inhalation and exhalation how your body feels more lighter, how you feel more energized and happy, and just there's a sense of calm that is emanating with each and every passing breath. And as you're letting off all the negative energy with each passing inhalation and exhalation, there's a smile that starts forming on your face. And your body starts feeling fully relaxed. Each and every body part feels healthy. You're feeling full of energy. So breathe in and breathe out. Just scan your body as a whole, starting from your toes up to the crown of your head. And just scan each and every part, your toes, your ankle, your heel, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your buttocks, your spine, your abdominal region, your chest, your shoulders, your hands, your face. Just scan each and every body part and release all the blockages, release all the pain, release all the tension from each and every body part, and let it all go out through exhalation. And with inhalation, just try and recharge and re-energize each and every body part. Fill them with full energy and let go of all your lethargy, all your anxiety, all your laziness, all your tensions. And just sit in silence for the next 2 minutes, deepening your inhalation and exhalation as much as possible. Just focus on your breath, on the movements, and all the cleansing that is happening with each and every passing inhalation and exhalation. Now keep your eyes closed and gently rub your palms together. Just generate some heat. Make a cup with the palms and place them on your closed eyes. So observe the positive energy, the positive affirmations, and the strong willpower and the rejuvenated body you have created through your breath, through your thoughts, and through your practice. And then gently rub your face, your neck, your arms, your whole body just cleansing your aura, cleansing all your blockages. And with a smile on your face and a few blinks, thank you, open your eyes, and we are done. So it was a short meditation, and it was just a short manner in which you can just work on your body. And there are different things that you can do with your thoughts, with your memories, and I mean there are different stages to it. But if you cannot do anything, it will hardly take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even 15 minutes, and you can easily just feel refreshed and feel energized, and you can just let go of all your tensions and all your daily stress, and you can just take a step forward towards reforming yourself.
I may firstly confess that I opened my eyes in between, but I did not stop you or bother you because someone in the audience might be doing meditation with you. And my team was constantly texting me that this is going above 60 minutes. It won't be uploaded to IGTV. But this session, especially the meditative part, was so important and so refreshing. I really felt, very fresh during that 2 minutes that I joined you. So Ashish, that's a very, very interactive and very, very amazing session. And thanks a lot for finding time for this. And we really hope to see, more sessions from you, especially a special session on meditation, because there have been some comments on that, and I have been receiving texts on my phone that this meditation thing was really wonderful. So it's probably another, session totally focused on meditation sometime whenever you find time.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Ashish. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining. We would have to wind up now, but thanks a lot. Right. Okay, Ashish. Thank you.
Namaste.